Hey, I'm back again. We are back with James. Um,
Right.
James has just met Wide Awake, haven't you? And you just had a bit of a
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah, and a bit of heaving.
Yeah, now he wants to have another hangout with you.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful what I'm finding unfold. Every day is just wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I get shit days. Saturday, I just felt this oppressive energy, and it's like, ugh. But Sunday, I thought, right, today's going to be a better day. Because it balances out. You've got to have the dark and the light. So I thought I can adapt myself around this energy. I can just sit and meditate. Um, so Sunday, I had a bath and I added 4 pints of urine, my own, and it energizes me. It really energized me. There was a beautiful link sent us
All
from that.
right, James. You were busy, weren't you?
Busy,
Well, 4 pints, you said.
4 pints. Yeah, there's a channel. I think it's called Healing with Harry. Um, this guy talks about the urine therapy. Aged urine, when it's like 2 weeks old or more, it becomes like the fourth element. You've got gas, you've got liquid, and you've got solid. Aged, it becomes structured, like structured water. You've already purified and filtered it, and it's the miracle cure for your skin. Any abrasions and things, if you get stung, it will take the sting
Can
away.
I ask you something very quickly, James? I don't mean to stop you. Can you hear Ellie drying her hair?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, hopefully it won't go through to the hangout then, because my daughter's just drying her hair. But if you
Yeah.
wonder what noise is in the background, it's Ellie. Carry on.
Yeah. So that I thought, well, I'll never advocate anything unless I'm prepared to try it myself. So I thought, yeah, it does stink horrible, and the system program tells you it's a waste product, and I should therefore give it back to the system. It's like, no, I'll give it to nature, and I'll reuse it on myself again. Um, and it's definitely something worth pursuing. Obviously, it's going to depend on your food intake as to what's been filtered, but it could quite literally save people's lives. So, I mean, all this talk about water shortages and what the system is doing and all the fear programming of things, but that takes away one of the biggest fears of, I need to drink, I need liquid. Well, yeah, you can make your own. I know it sounds quite radical, but this is what this to get through this is what it takes. This is a spiritual evolution, so therefore it takes a huge leap in the mind of like, well, I've been told this, I've been told that, but do I know it to be true 100%? I need to go right inside my heart and to find the answer. I need to do some real deep soul searching. And it's the same with everything. It's like the word Jesus. At one point, it'd be like, ugh, triggered by that. And it's like, hold on a minute, it's just a word. Why am I being triggered by a word? And it's like, it's bringing up an anger emotion. It's like, no, get back down there. It's just a word. That's not going to hurt me.
Oh,
I actually, just to sort of plug another channel, Match C1234 Golf. I think she's just come off a month's YouTube ban. She put up a lovely one. This woman was saying, "In the name of Jesus," or whatever, and it's basically, she's quite right what she says. This woman is basically saying, I'm going to use black magic on you against what I perceive to be evil. So it's no better because she's wishing ill intent on other people. And it was a fire. And I think somebody died in the fire as well. So, I mean, is that unconditional love that these Christians are supposed to profess? That doesn't sound it to me.
mm.
Wishing an ill intent, it comes down to that voice in the mind. I mean, it's so simple, and it is very difficult to do in that external world of not having a negative thought to anyone or anything, because everything out there is an objection. It's an obstacle to get round. And in fact, we probably brought ourselves into this reality because our inner knowing is saying, things aren't right here, I object to it. And then we find we're in solid objects called physical bodies in this realm. And it's like, oops, I shouldn't have said that. I see it as like a game of Mario Brothers, and where our five senses are convincing us we're that character. And it's getting us exploring and trying to get through this game and then get to the next level. Well, spiritually, we are evolving into the next level of humanity. And it's beautiful. The fear falls away because, the way I put it, you stand on one side of the mirror and you say to yourself, who am I? And the mirror will reflect back, I am who, which can be taken as a question or an answer. But between that is I who am. And it's anything you want to be. If you put your mind to it, have the desire, and you put enough feeling into it, regardless of what the outside world, the five senses are telling you, I don't know the time scale, but it will come. I've tested this repeatedly. I've done it on small steps. And this is a thing, we've all done this. There was a desire at one point to say, I don't want mummy or daddy sticking that spoon in my mouth. I want to master holding that spoon and feeding myself. Now I want to master walking. I'm going to trip and stumble, but I'm going to get there. I'm determined to do it. I have the desire and I will succeed to do it. I have the feeling inside me that I am going to walk. This is what it comes down to. This is the big secret. But if you miss the mark, if you don't fulfill the desire, that is being a sinner. So if you don't put enough feeling and have the courage of your convictions behind it, then it won't work. So you can pray to anything external. You can pray to Joe Biden or the Pope or whatever, but they ain't going to save you. The only person that'll save you is yourself.
Yes, James, I agree with you on that one.
It is. I mean, I feel so happy all the time now. But that's the other part of it. In this world of doom and gloom, people always want what other people have got. So if they see someone going, they're going, why is he so happy? What's he got that I haven't got? That's the way to break out of this. You're radiating out a positive vibe on them. This is why they want us to keep us more than 6 foot apart, because the auras on most people.
Oh, we going? Is that well? When we were talking about having a hangout, we said you were going to talk about vibration.
Well, yeah, this is what it is. You've got the 7 chakras. The whole point of this experience of being here is to it's expressed as Moses says that man must be raised up, or the serpent must be raised up. It's like the human body on a cross. It's an internal process of raising the energy from the solar plexus, the place of the sun, which is in the stomach, the house of bread, the Bethlehem, and raising it up to activate the pineal gland. So the sun is going to its midday position. It's in the middle. That's why it's meditate. You're parting the seas of the left and right brain. You're being cleaved apart. You're allowing the light to come in, your higher self basically, to come into you, because it's like a plane. A plane can't land on a runway if it's all cluttered and there's all these anxieties going in your mind, like, where's my next meal coming from? How am I going to pay the mortgage? Is that washing machine going to blow up? All these things. Where I want to go on holiday. I want my freedom, and all this sort of thing. All these thoughts going around in people's minds. Well, their higher self has got nowhere to land. It's not a clear runway, because they haven't stilled the mind. They've got external fears. So it's a wonderful thing, because it's the total opposite of what this reality is trying to do, and that's to get you to do things. This is about just sitting still, doing nothing, and shutting your eyes and just observing your own thoughts. And it starts a magical process. It's just keep practicing, and you're impressing something into yourself. In doing so, you're creating chemical changes in yourself. And it's like, wow, I want to feel like this all the time. I don't want to come out of this. It's like, I don't want to go back in that 3D reality. I want to stay here.
Oh,
but obviously, I think it's a calling, and it's like, well, this is what I'm meant to do. This is in the way I can express it. It's said we're God-given gifts. Well, what would they be? It's only what you create in your mind. I think I want to do this, or this feels right to me, and I like that. Something's drawing me towards that, and yeah, I want to follow this, and oh, I see this. I want to share this information. So that's where I've got to, really. Just sort of sharing the message, just of, well, this is what I found to work. I've looked at this and that, and this one actually works, and I'm getting physical reality benefits from it.
that's good.
Like a Chinese meal. I can manifest them quite easily. It's
Can you?
wonderful. Yeah, I get a thought, and well, like the other day with the front door had been left open, so the police walked right in. I can't say the details of how this all came about, but my desire on that day is I wanted some peace and quiet so I could get on with writing some more in the book. Well, I got my desire, but my world isn't full of chaos. My flower of life pattern has got organized petals. The emotions are not all over the place. I haven't got a scrambled spaghetti mess in my flower of life. So I can't do anything about other people's realities and what they've got going on in their heads. Only they can sort that out. So their outcome of it was very different from mine, shall we say.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I'd wished anything bad upon them. The only part I'd wished for was some peace and quiet to write a book. So that's what I got on that day. I thought, hey, this is wonderful. But I need to revise and be more aware of everybody else, because yes, that was nice to have that desire fulfilled, but look at the damage it did as well. So, because I don't want to wish ill on anybody, because it'll come back. It's a boomerang and it's magnetic. Whatever you send out comes back. And that's a scary thought. If you're sending out evil intentions, even to Rockefellers and that, I'd just like to see them stripped of any power. And then, I don't know, stick them on our island until they can learn to be kind to each other. That'd be a good place to start. Because it seems to be they're greedy. But no matter how greedy they are, their material wealth is not giving them gratification or satisfaction, because you'll only find that in the spiritual realm, finding it within yourself, that moment, that feeling of bliss that just holds. It is like it's a spiritual orgasm, basically. And it's like, wow, I don't want to come out of this. This feeling is just beautiful. It's you can only sort of describe it in sort of physical terms, but it doesn't do it justice, really. But they seem to be like, they've got the Ferrari. Well, now I've got the Ferrari, I want another Ferrari and another one and another one. But it's a drug. They're not getting satisfaction, but they still want more. So they're projecting out their misery on the rest of the world, basically. They want everybody to feel like them. But there's another way, which is much better.
Mm. There is, James. This way's awful.
Yeah. So it's like, I can't say I'm free of this system by a long way. But I'm trying to cut as many ties, and certainly in the mind and spiritually, I can cut pretty much all ties with it. But I can still move about in this reality and go through the experience of it. But it's not affecting me. It's changed my perception of things and the things I think I want. And the huge difference between what I think I want and what I really need. And spirit has a wonderful way of actually delivering what is actually best suited rather than what you think you want. And the process of it, I mean, who would think that spirit would work through the system, through the police? I mean, how beautiful is that? So how much control does the system really have? Because I can't blame the police, because the police are being tracked, recorded, and everything they do in their day. So if they don't follow up on something, they get it in the neck. So I can't blame the human being in that police uniform. They're as much in the shit as everybody else. They're not the enemy, the people in those uniforms. They're thinking maybe they may have gone into the police for the right reasons. They want to help protect the community, but there seems an awful lot that seem very narcissistic in recent years, which is a shame. But that's the cold reality of it, I think. But you get to feel their energy. Well, I do anyway, and some of it is just awful. It's like, oh, I don't want that in my reality. Go away. So it's like we just repel them with energy. And I think it's like the seven chakras. When you're activated and provoked by the external realm, it keeps those chakras spinning. When they're still, when they're magnetized, when that Christ consciousness process is beginning, that draws up that energy to the mind. It's very real. It's like driving, though. I can have a concept of it, but once I've done it and had the experience, I can now talk about it from an experience side rather than just a concept side. So I can say, yes, this does work. This is your ticket out of this horror show, is your own power within you. And so many spiritual things will say, go within, the power is within you, you've got all the answers, but it needs a bit more explanation. Because how that seems meaningless if you don't understand what's being said. But it's so when you find yourself in a situation where you feel your adrenaline going, that fight or flight thing, you just want to get out of a situation, you sense that it's not good. That's the point where you've got to be in the presence and think, right, hold on a minute, observe your own feelings. What's triggering me? What is this? And it's like, no, this isn't fear at all. That's what the system has told me it is. It's a natural feeling of protection. It's like, this is a game changer now. I don't need to, I've done nothing wrong. I have nothing to fear. Now that energy is changing into it, you're changing the polarity. There's your pole shift within yourself. You're changing a negative feeling into a positive feeling, which now will work with you. Mm-hmm. And you can repel, because even at the most lowest levels, you'll hear people talk about a comedian or somebody on stage will have a charisma, a magnetic personality. They walk into a room and the room changes because of their presence. This is all it is. It's not some I am the one thing. This is something everybody has got that they just need to find and unlock within themselves.
Like, what would happen if we all woke up together? Maybe it's better it's in stages.
Well, in the Bible, it says it will happen one by one. It's like the animals go into the ark. That's the two eyes expressed there. You're seeing with two external eyes instead of seeing with a singular spiritual eye. But the ark is your skull. I mean, we've got a flood. It's a flood of information technology. I mean, over the last 20, 30 years, you've got social media and all these ways of communicating. And it's like, well, there's also the paradox, because the information is there to be found. And yet people don't seem to have the ability to think, I can look on my phone and go into Google and say, what does this mean? Or what does that word mean? Might have to trawl through a bit to find alternative views on things, because obviously they'd be buried. But it is there, but even basic functions, if you don't know how to cook a roast dinner, well, there's plenty of YouTube videos and channels on how to cook things. The basic functions are all there: how to rewire a plug, how to change a light bulb. There'll be a video on everything, how to boil an egg. There's no excuse. It's just has to come from within each person. They have to have the desire and then use what they've got. So if you've got an internet, then use it. It might be a system given thing, but it's a huge advantage. I mean, how many people in various groups, say on Facebook, or how would we ever got in contact with each other without this system given thing? So it might be for sinister intentions, but it's also an Achilles heel. There's another side to it to be found. There's another face to this coin. That, okay, it might be to track us and amass data on everybody, which shows that, okay, well, the registration system of birth certificates isn't infallible. If you're still having to track people, surely you should know who everybody is. Every birth is registered. So, system isn't that great after all. It's not all it pretends to be. Which doesn't surprise me, because it's all masks and illusions and conjuring tricks. They're just bad actors and they don't like critics. To sort of sum it up, this is where I'm at right now. I'm present. I'm in the presence. Externally, my reality compared to everybody else might look quite bleak and very basic, but inside is completely different. I can't share that bit, except I can try and express it in words, but I can't give you the feeling. You have to find that in yourself. But it is there. That's my experience of it. And it's like, yay, I feel really happy. But not to the point where I'm deluded that other people are suffering. And it's like, well, I can try and help, and I can't force it on them. But if I give them something like, by the way I hold myself, my presence, how I walk about, the energy I radiate out, then they might think, hang on a minute, he's got something that I want. Because I wish everybody did feel like this. That would be the end of everything, all the horrors and the negative aspects. Or, well, not at the end of it. It would be a big step in the right direction, because you've still got a pyramid structure system everywhere in that external world, of a few at the top and very many at the bottom. So that saying about when will it end, when the last stone falls from the last church, it includes all structures, the government structures. And I'm not talking about the physical buildings. I'm talking about the structure of the operations that are keeping everybody enslaved. So I suppose you could say I'm playing the part of Moses at the moment. I'm trying to lead the people out of the desert. Because we all get to play all these parts. The world is the stage.
You're right about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so if the vision, people seem to like things to be visual. Well, they clearly do, from what's sitting in the corner of most living rooms that they're paying attention to, which is causing a tension on their mind. So by the physical actions of what I do will surely have an impact on the external world wherever I go. So that's the way, that's my path. I've talked enough. Your turn.
I don't know what I can add to it, James, because you're so deep. I do
Well,
believe in the spiritual side of life, and I do believe, like with you, where you look within, you have to look within. You have to
it's the
know
buried treasure.
you have to know who you are as a person.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's right down from the talking it in the practical levels. It goes back to like, I don't know, say like the name Bill Gates or Fauci. Oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm not being triggered by that. That's creating a feeling inside me, a negative one, to another human being, regardless of whether they're good or bad human beings.
My daughter's just going out.
Okay.
Well, they just want us in a state of confusion, don't they?
Yeah. They talk about it as order out of chaos, but they keep, from what I can see, it's just keeping things continually in chaos, so there never is any order. Well, there is an order of sorts which seems to just benefit them and not the majority. I think that needs to change, and I feel we are the change. It is happening now. The astrology is all pointing to that on everything. So I'll go with that. It feels good to me, feels right to me. So whether it's the ultimate truth or not, doesn't matter. If it feels good and I feel good from that as a confirmation, then I'll take that. That's good.
Yeah. What are you doing there, Jane?
Sorry, it's a plastic bag.
Yeah, so when we last spoke, you were doing this book.
Well, it's grown to 4. Where are we? Yeah, second one. I've talked a lot about letters and letter shapes as symbols and what they're showing, because when they're strung together, they create a spell in spelling, and they are a rite. Then the second part of that book is about Wagner's The Ring of the Nibelungs, because that is basically a condensed version of what it's saying in the Bible. Same story. You start with this dwarf from the underworld who gold is a symbol of a natural symbol of beauty. But for one that can renounce love will have ultimate power. And this dwarf renounces love and starts this chain of events, which culminates in Valhalla burns in the sky and the underworld is drowned. Because you've got the Valhalla, the fake gods. You've also got the underworld element. You've got your Silicon Valley. The story is as relevant today as it when Wagner. It's basically all the German mythology put together into a cohesive story. It's visionary. He was trying to take the arts back to the Greek, and I'd say music concerts have been debased into just mere entertainment. But I think it seems to be that everything goes back to a point. So all your science is music. It wasn't a concert like we've got today. It was concerted. It was something far greater. It was something with a spiritual meaning behind it that actually benefited us. Because you still get that feeling when you hear live music, it's always better than on a recording, because it is live. It's got human interaction. You can have a professional singer who's not putting the feeling into the song, and the crowd won't respond to it. But you've got somebody who's not quite a professional, but they put the feeling into it and they win the crowd over. And that's all human feeling and interaction. That's the magic. That's all in the unseen. There's 5 senses, but you can feel it. That's you've actually got 12. You've got the 5 external senses, but they've also got internal ability as well. So it's used in the expressions. I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and so on. I have a feeling about this. Then you've got your intuition, because you are teaching yourself, and you have your instinct, which is your ancestral memories, because we've lost all that. Where mankind has evolved spiritually, we've totally changed. We're not telepathic beings. We're now using labels, words, language, written down things, where it would have been communicated in a very different way. pre-Atlantean age. So the next thing is, well, we need to evolve into the next phase of humanity in the right way, and we can take something from the old, we can learn from the mistakes of the past, and we can build a future in a new way. And this is the other thing that's catching humanity. It needs thinking out the box, a radical change of ideas. Don't go to the authorities and saying, please give us permission to do this, we want to protest. It's like, just do it. Don't tell them, just get on with it. But do it in peaceful ways that are not going to cause harm. The system is just waiting for anything. I mean, I think it's happened in Liverpool, gatherings of people, because it involved the council. They've said no, and I think it was quite a large number of people, 2,000 people. So it's all fallen apart because it's involved the system. This has got to be far more in the unseen, working in the physical realm, but in the way spirit works, moving unseen. So it's verbal communication between people, not over the internet, because they can see all that. It's as ridiculous as getting things coming up on the internet saying military secret operation to take down the cabal. Well, clearly from the censorship that the whole internet is not under the control of this perceived good guy military. So that's just another, well, that's wishful thinking. That's what people want to hear. That's what they want to see, but it ain't going to happen. It comes down to each and every one of us to do our bit and just put our energy into this. Anything else is a side issue. We can sort out all the rest afterwards. If there is a Vatican library with all these secret documents and things, well, it'll be found, won't it? But you've got to get rid of that structure that's keeping all this secret.
Yeah, so we're in a spiritual war, aren't we, James?
Definitely. Not going to beat it in the physical realm. It's, I mean, what's happening, if you think about it, you just look at the analogy with the way they take down buildings. It's not a wrecking ball approach with lots of dust and devastation. It's now behind boards and it's gently took down piece by piece. And that's what's happening with this system. Because the last thing you want is sort of scenes from Mad Max and gang warfare, and there'll be a lot of bloodshed, a lot of innocent people getting hurt. I mean, it's bad enough now with what's going on and the scripts that they're being fed, but we don't want to add to it, and because the system is winning, then if we're fighting fire with fire, we're not going to get anywhere. I suppose you could say it's the holy fire is what you need, and that's the active thalamus, that's the active pineal gland, that's the light within. It's that change within oneself of be gentle as a dove and wise as serpents. So wherever you're going out in the external world, it be the best version of yourself. And yeah, you're going to get obstacles. You're going to meet obnoxious people that you're not going to avoid them, because you've got to have these contrasts. If everybody was obnoxious, how would you know if anybody wasn't? If everybody was a narcissist, how would you tell a non-narcissist? So there's always going to be contrasts. But slowly, one by one, yeah, I think this is worth a shot. Not 2 shots, but worth a spiritual shot.
Yes. Well, that sounds good, James. So the book turned into 4 books.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, got right off, didn't I? Yeah, so book 1 is already on video form. I've got I'm going to need access to a computer probably to do a PDF version, because again, I'm not doing a book in the sense of it's going to end up. The last thing I want is a barcode on it. That's as good as stolen by the the opposition, as it were. I mean, publishing houses, how many of them are really independent? And then the actual bookbinders and things as well. You got a control system that's running everything, so anything in the system. So give it away freely. It's what's in the book. It's not the author that matters. That's why there's no name on the book. And book 2, yeah, the Wagner and the Ring Cycle. I'm also showing in that how in Norse mythology, the Odin character, he gains knowledge from the tree of life by losing an eye. Now, the historical Jesus, this King Esus, lost an eye. It's the same story. All they've done is another divide and conquer. They've come in with Christianity from one side and they've come in with what is called paganism on the other side. It's still idol worship. Sorry if it upsets anybody who's pagan, and I don't mean to upset your beliefs and things, but if you look at Odin in Norse mythology, he's quite treacherous. He can turn on you. So I wouldn't, again, it's something external of yourself. Find the Odin within you, or find the Thor or Osiris or whatever within yourself.
It is a little bit harder. I'm not saying it was ever easy, but it is a little bit harder today, isn't it, James, with what they're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody I know, they've been to Spain, come back, and as far as I know, they're in hospital with blood clots because they've been up into high altitude where it is clearly a link there. There's too many cases of people having their freedom and they're being, it's as tech, not Aztec. It's as technology. It's like, well, take you up in a plane to worship, we'll sacrifice you to the sun god. It's blood clots rather than cutting the heart out.
Nice. Well, we're just one big experiment to them, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah. It's coming to a breaking point. It can't go on like this. Well, I certainly don't want to see it go on like this. And then I will be committing a sin if I don't fulfill that desire. So I've really set myself up now, haven't I? So I've got to see this through, no matter what. I've got to practice what I preach. I can't just preach it and expect everybody else to do it. But it's not a case of all follow me either. It's a case of you all got to find it. It's not meant to have a leadership. It's a collective consciousness. So it's going to take as much of humanity as possible.
Where's your books, James, so everybody can read your books?
Right. Well, the first one, it's called Nothing and Hearth. That's on my channel and it's in a playlist. And there's a couple of associated videos that gives a bit of the backstory about how it came about. Second one, I'm still writing. It's not too far off completion. Third one, it's to do with music and tones, because you've got A to G, keys of A to G. There's seven chakras, because songs can lift you up or give you certain feelings. You can attach a song to an event in your life. You might have a song that, oh, that makes me sad, that reminds me of this, or that reminds you of somebody's birthday or a wedding day or whatever. So there's something in the tones and the vibrations and the frequency in music. And I'm finding this. I would say, what is the creator? Well, a creator is in many forms. They're called artists. They create and they express ideas and they communicate. So this is why I think, like, all these songs, and I've done it myself, it's like I'm seeing things in the lyrics like Hotel California I didn't see before, because I'm hearing it in a different way. And it's like, oh, I'm not saying the writers even knew what they were really communicating in the spiritual sense. It's like remote writing. They're being used as mediums to express this spiritual message. So it can be in paintings, it can be in music, anything that's creative, because creativity is what this is all about. something that is created. It's an idea manifested in a physical realm, but it's dead. This is the realm of death. Everything here is an idea expressed. The world was dead. The world was created. So this is the realm of death. This is the lowest level, the lowest vibration. And it's all held together by thought. The things that our five senses decode, like a table and a chair and a wall, that are solid to the five senses. Yeah, to the five senses they are, but also going on that I can't see and I can't detect unless I have a way of detecting it is the Wi-Fi, the Google Cloud. They haven't even got a substance. There's nothing tangible to them, but they're there. But I can't detect them with five senses. So what if I start opening up my senses and being open to the idea and possibilities of things? Then you do start to see things. You tune in to different frequencies, and it's like, wow. I mean, how did I pinpoint Wide Awake's area on his neck? I felt a sensation in my neck, and I thought, oh, well, that's not me. And this is how it goes with a lot of the illnesses. The physical illnesses that people get are manifested from their thoughts and feelings. And the more you focus on something, like if you've got an aching back, the more you keep saying, oh, my aching back, you're actually programming yourself, you're cursing yourself and giving yourself more of an aching back by keep telling yourself that's what you've got. You don't have an aching back. You are perfectly healthy. You just tell yourself that. You are a living God. You are an expression of the Creator. You are made perfect. You need nothing added to you, nothing taken away. You are perfect as you are. It's just the external world will try and tell you you're not. So I ain't listened to any man or woman in a white coat with pens in a pocket.
No.
Don't care what they.
You're on a bit of a march at the moment, then, James.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I want everybody to feel how I feel in a good way. I don't want to be sort of saying, oh, this and that has happened, and this is how I feel, and I want you to feel like this. No, I don't want to share. I don't want to feel like that, and I don't want to share it to anybody else. No, I want to feel the best I possibly can, and I want to share that. So yeah, so that's why I say all that is happening is actually very beautiful. When you see the bigger picture to it, forget about the individual little details of what's happening to this person or that person. Some of them have made that choice because they've been fooled, but they won't drop their ego. How many people, I said this on the video, how many people would honestly, publicly say, oh, I got a message or an email promising me they're going to give me all this money if I send them £3,000, and I got scammed and now I feel a complete fool. How many people would be honest enough to really do that? Their own fear will stop them doing that.
Yeah.
So everything people have been told about how this world is and how it works and which is the right way to be, they're not prepared to drop that guard and say, actually, what if it, because it's a horrible thought that you've been lied to all your life. Most people do not want to face that. It's like, oh no, so they defend it. That's the crazy thing about it. Humanity is its own worst enemy. Till they drop those guards, your walls of Jericho have got to come down. And you've got to be open to, well, okay, this doesn't feel right, but I'll have a look, at least have a look into it, and then I'll make an informed decision about these things rather than I'll just go with this script. But if you look at the way this system is worked, it's like it's keeping people exhausted, mentally tired. They haven't got the time, and they haven't got the desire. That's the worst part about it. That's the sad part.
Yeah. I don't like the deception.
Well, a lot of people, they're, it's that first emotion. They're not in touch with their emotions. They don't know themselves, so they will react and defend. No, the doctor told me this, and he's right, because he's a doctor. He knows what he's talking about. Does he? He's just doing what he's gone through medical school, and he's learned what they've told him, and probably spent very little time in actually doing any independent investigation to see if what he's been learning is true. Same as a university professor. They will be the worst ones to try and tell them that they're wrong and their whole science has been based on a lie. Because they've got accolades, they've got a career out of it. They're known in the world. They're somebody. They're a professor. And they're so out of touch with any reality, it's unbelievable. But they will defend that to the end because they're a professor. But what are they professing? Load of crap, I think. Or you can get, what's his name? That pretty boy, Brian Cox, smiley, smiley, smiley. Look at me, I'm a scientist. I know what I'm talking about. I talk a load of bullshit to the public. And I probably am getting paid a lot of money and actually know I'm telling people lies. That's the impression I get of that one. Cox by name and a complete Cox by nature. For the public record. But that's naughty because I'm sending out a negative thought, so I've got to correct myself and slap my wrist for that. He's been misled and has gone with it. I hope, rather than knowing he's going wrong. I was having a joke with a play on the words of being awake.
Oh, sorry, James. Sorry
So,
about. I enjoy your talks as well. Wide Awake's well impressed.
yeah.
He talks about a lot of stuff. He puts out. I mean, your videos are about spirituality and lots of other things, and you stick to that. But his is about research for a camera. But he likes to have the other chats.
Yeah.
Which is what he joined us for.
There's a lovely subconscious bit he's doing there because he's getting out in nature. He's getting outside. So there's that as well. There's a lot of unseen positive benefits because it is all fascinating to look at. I think about the as above, so below, and the macro and the micro, and what about the internal universe, and how does that relate to the external one? Because look at that behind. I mean, it's often said Saturn means Satan, and it's got rings, and they're running rings around us. Beyond Saturn is Neptune, the mystic, and behind that you've got Pluto, which is mystery. And I think that's why you've got Pluto, the Disney dog. That's how the system sees humanity, as just stupid dogs. We are the Plutos to them. And it's the most external in this so-called solar system. But we are the suns. That's looking completely the wrong way. They want you to look out there. They want you to look up there.
Well, they don't actually want you to look up there, do they? Because we used to follow by the stars, and now nobody hardly any knows what they don't think of them anymore. Like they just don't see it like that.
You're supposed to be dazzled by the stars, so that can be Hollywood ones. If you'll notice, with all narratives, anything from so-called science, they talk about how many billions of light years something is away, and they go into all these little details about the mass of the thing and how much it weighs and how big it is and how far away it is, and it's like, ugh. It's like, oh, the devil is in the detail. It's like, you show me a CGI picture of something and no, sorry.
Yeah, I think your body senses it, doesn't it?
When I listen to various astrology channels, I mean, I don't profess to say I don't really know anything about astrology, but I'm going by the feeling. So when I hear like Jupiter is in conjunction with or is with the sun or something, I'm hearing Jupiter. The Jew is in service of God. It's a Jewel. We are the jewel. Because we are El, of Elohim. We're on two legs, which are L-shaped, the foot and the lower calf. Hence, you've got hell on earth, human energy on two legs. So yeah, they love to play about, but to me the most magical thing, and you can't do it with the physical eyes, is when you see a tree, but you don't just see the physical tree, you see its entirety from seed to when it decays, and you see the magic of what it creates, the new life it creates. It's that you see with the spiritual eye, and it's like, wow, this is better than any firework display. This is better than an atomic bomb explosion. This is real magic with the spiritual eye. And then let's see, right, what else? I'm open to the idea. Maybe I'll start seeing people in their entire life experience from cradle to the grave unfold before me. That would be wonderful as well to see. Be like, oh.
Well, yeah.
If I can do it with a tree, I think it's only a matter of time before the sort of awareness is expanded that bit more, because it's all about expansion. It's spoken about this. Creativity is all about expanding consciousness. Well, surely that is. If I'm now seeing trees through their entire lifespan, which is maybe hundreds of years with some trees, if I start being able to do that with humans and animals and things, it's like, oh, this really is a magical world. I'm seeing things in a completely new way. And wow, I want to be here. I want to see this. I want to see it
Yeah, I
through.
think that's what they've taken away is hope, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, what is that saying, isn't it? Where there's hope, I can't remember the saying, but where there's hope, there's a way.
The only thing you've got to look forward to and see.
Well, most if you go on the purely material world, the only thing you really got look forward to is an old people's home and going in a wooden box or being cremated, and then
Oh, at the moment, everywhere I go, the ads are up, and it's all about people dying, liver problems, or old people's homes.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's well, that's the mirror, the external mirror thing. So if that's showing everything's dying, the spiritual one will be everything's growing, because there'll always be an opposite. So I do pay attention to things that the external world shows, but then I think, what are they really showing here? I mean, you've got this new Sky television I've seen advertised called Glass. Well, glass is something you look through, and it's like, yeah, I get the joke, because what they're going to be showing is not going to be clear at all. It's going to be just more mind programming of their script. It's like, I don't want it. You can keep it. I don't even want the television.
mm.
If it wasn't for keeping in contact with people like yourselves, I wouldn't even really want Wi-Fi. Really, I'd rather have a community and human interaction.
Oh, James.
So I'm not going to say the internet is all bad, because I wouldn't have known
Well, if
anybody.
it was all bad, we wouldn't be talking. It's not all bad, but it's the people who have the power over it are doing things. They're not using it correctly.
Yeah, but I mean, well, there's another way of looking at that. If everything comes from this creative power, so therefore it's created them as well. It may be, if you come out of the mortal perspective and from a spiritual perspective, it's like, well, I'm a spirit that is eternal and nothing's going to harm me. I'm just happen to be in this inherited body at the moment. It, the overall thing is about growth, and expanding consciousness. It's like, well, you've got between life and death. What about between death and life? That's another experience. That's another realm that's outside of the five senses.
Ah,
But is death all it's made out to be? I would say
won't
no.
know till the end, but I mean, I wouldn't know any difference then, I suppose. But I'd be really disappointed, if I couldn't
Well,
go and look forward, and then we're just going to a black nothing, and there is nothing. That would be so disappointing.
well, again, this is something I can say from personal experience, because I was losing a lot of blood in hospital one time, and it was a feeling of absolute bliss and total peace. It was beautiful. And it's actually very similar to when you go into the meditation, and you have a very similar feeling of absolute bliss. there's no difference in it, I would say, really. In fact, we've all done the death experience. It's when you're first born and they clamp that umbilical cord, suddenly your entire supply of oxygen, of nutrients, of everything for that physical body is now suddenly cut off. You're dead until you're slapped and the lungs are kick-started. You've already gone through the experience of death. But because we've only just come into this world and the soul is saying, what the hell's this? It's such a shock that you don't have...
that baby was in complete darkness as well.
Yeah, well, I saw it as pink.
You know, it's really crazy that for 9 months it grows in complete darkness, and then it's born. It must go, whoa, what is this?
Well, that's what every seed does. It's put into soil and grows out, breaks through the kernel and breaks through to the surface and turns into a plant or a flower or tree. So, I mean, we've got a spiritual seed in us. It's said in the Bible, man was formed from the dust of the earth. So therefore we are a type of soil for seeds to be planted in. But if the soil has been corrupted by chemicals and it's not organic, shall we say, see what I mean? Then those seeds are not going to grow into the beautiful flowers that they're supposed to be. They're not going to flower. They're going to wither and be the withered vines. So everything that's perceived to be done that's awful on earth, what they're doing to the plants and the trees, they're doing to us as well in a form.
They're doing it all to us, aren't they?
Well,
they're on the people.
There's definitely a script of it. How much of it I know? See, the trouble with a lot of these things, even something like a broadband company trying to get you to be one of their customers, and they're telling you how many megabits per second data speed you're going to have. Well, who's got any way of even checking that and verifying that they're telling the truth? And same with anything science. You try and hire scientific equipment, you'll have to go to university, get permission, probably costs thousands of pounds, so you can't do it yourself. You can't verify this. It's all very clever. I mean, you've got that Time Team program where they've got that trolley that do the ground penetrating radar. Think what if anybody could have access to one of those, what they could uncover in the ground, get to the truth of these ancient structures and things. If you can use radar, you can say, well, yeah, it is definitely built on something else. Here's the proof of it from the whatever can't think what it is, ground penetrating radar. So I suppose it's the signal that bounces back will give you a shape, an image you can then print off, and you can say, yes, look, there is something under that. But how can we get that equipment? It's all controlled by the system. So what have we got that we can fight back with? Well, that's something inside us that they can't.
Yeah, turning our backs on them.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, yeah, if you remember when I stayed at yours, we watched that film, I think it was The Young Merlin. And
yes, there you go. That's what they did to Zamorag.
It
destroyed her.
Yeah, they ignored her. And that's the thing. I mean, if you think about it, the outgoing sort of narcissists, they crave attention. Are they not the most extreme versions that are this control system? So if they're not getting the attention, they would hate that.
Yeah.
They're not getting the feed. They're not getting the accolades. I mean, they can give themselves as many Golden Globes as they want, but if nobody's watching it, who cares? Obviously means something to them. It don't mean jack shit to me.
Yeah, you're very bouncy today, James.
Yeah, I am. I was just thinking, what if I was presented with a Golden Globe? I'd probably use it as a doorstop. It wouldn't make unless it's got a practical use. I'm trying to think. There's a designer of wallpaper and furniture. I think it was somebody, William Morris. Keep only what is beautiful and functional in your life. I think that's quite a good quote as as well. So, I mean, that can be applied to people around you as well. If they're horrible and you don't want them in your life, you don't want to be picking up on their energies. And where possible, sort of move yourself out of that environment. Because it's doing things in a passive, non-aggressive way as well, that way. You're not adding a negative energy back into the mix.
Mm. Yeah, mind you, we don't want to be positive at all for that way. It's all negative for me. They are negative. They are negative.
Just have to turn it around in yourself, and then it really does change everything. I feel brilliant.
Well, you were the first one when I was looking at footage a few years ago. It was you that I was having the footage with, and I just couldn't believe that the Victorian footage didn't look right.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's another thing. You think, oh, how far does this go back?
Yes.
How long have they been doing this for?
It's just like if they were doing it then, but then they were making it. They could have been much younger. Those videos and pictures. They were just pretending they were from the Victorian times.
Yeah.
You don't quite know how old they are, but they were awful, and they still are awful.
What really gets me is when you see those pictures of San Francisco Market Street, how traumatized they look, and you think, what on earth have they been put through? Poor souls.
But they may not be real. They may, as the television is cartoon.
Yeah, it's just the looks on the faces. None of them. I mean, nobody smiles in those old photos. Nobody looks happy. They all look miserable.
They all look, when they're looking at the camera, they look like there's something wrong with them. They're all like, duh. It's all a bit weird.
But actually, yeah, that's something like on an energetic. If I see a picture of, say, someone like Bill Gates, I can detect a sort of not a pleasant energy, but it's a totally different energy with those old like Victorian photos. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's almost like a blank. I can't think of any words. But anybody who's got a spiritual feeling about these things might be able to come up with a way of describing it. There's definitely a different feeling. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a sepia toning or something. I don't know. But even that, when you look at the photography and this chemical processes and how dangerous they were, it's like, well, how did that all come about? I can't see any logical thing that somebody would think, oh, if I put with this and this type of paper, I'll get this picture come out of it. It's like, what's the real backstory behind all that?
I was just hoping they were going to make a big mistake that we'd see.
Well, I think they have. I think they've made many. I mean, there's been, shall we say, like a truth movement before the internet. There's loads of people in I think the 70s and 80s, but because they didn't get the coverage, they're not really known about today. I think there's always been this level of perception of things, but the internet has actually made it easier. But of course, there's a lot of half truths and half lies all mixed in together, so it looks like spaghetti on a plate, and it becomes a really interesting maze to try and work your way through.
Yeah. Do you ever get a block when you're thinking, or does it all flow for you in your brain? Is it constantly moving, or do you find sometimes you get blocks?
The best way is those old what they call split flat boards on London terminal stations, where all the things all are clicking. Something will come and it'll just all, I don't know, it all just click suddenly. But the first book, it's like I'm really just remote writing. I'm having to read back what's written. It's like I'm handing over the controls to my higher self to write this, and it just flows. It's not really me writing it. Because I have to look back and think, what did I put there? Yeah, and so anything that, because I did wonder about that, this thing called writer's block, and it's like, No, I just sit and just let it come. Don't try and think it. Just unthink, sort of not think it, and just let it flow. And it can sometimes just be one word somebody says or something I read, and it's like bing. Now everything else is all clicked into place around it, and it's like wow, that was. It's like well, that first book with that drawing the layout of the orchestra and those colours. That's where that all started. I had no idea where that was going.
Hmm.
It's just a symbol, and then it just seemed to open things up. I mean, I've got with the Bruckner symphonies, the third movement of the Seventh Symphony. It's sounds like a cockerel. It's da 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 da. That's the theme of it. It comes off the back of the second movement. Bruckner finds out about the death of Wagner in Venice in 1883. It's like my mentor is gone. Where do I go from here? And it's a complete change in the energy, and it's like this is the start of a new day. I've noticed the woodwinds he uses in this music are like bird song. It's like there's a cuckoo. What's the cuckoo represent? That's in the spiritual sense that brings in spring, which is the sun is rising, coming into a better weather. We've come out of winter. In his eighth symphony, which was known as the Apocalyptic, I can hear in the music there's two themes running. There's the Grim Reaper, which is da 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 da, and then at the end you've got what they call the German Michael, which is the equivalent of St George in Austria, and they both appear. It's almost like he's foretelling and showing going through the death experience. You'll meet Jamaica, which is yourself and judge yourself, and then his ninth symphony was all about going beyond this world. And that's what I pick up from the music in it anyway. But it's not a case of you've all got to listen and like that type of music. You find what feels right to you. If a particular music gives you a good feeling, but then if you start going deeper into it, because it's all about going deep within, as it were. So if you're getting a nice feeling and start looking at the lyrics, is it trying to tell
I
you
think you
something?
just answered something for me there, James, because I was on
Yeah.
the other hangout with Wide Awake. I was saying, well, the way we research, we can't just show it in 30 seconds. It
No.
takes minutes. And everybody's minds is made up for this wham bam, that's it, it's over. But
Yeah.
it's got to go in you and settle in you, and then you'll have your answer and it'll come out. But most people don't get that far because they're waiting for the wham bam.
Yeah. They're programmed for even more so now. Everything's programmed for instant, instant, instant. Rudy's actually pointed out something that's happening. I mean, the story sounds so ridiculous anyway. To ease the queues in this, I don't know where the school is, but to ease the queues in the canteen, they're now paying by facial recognition.
Oh,
What's that really saying? It's like you go into a supermarket, you've got self-service tills. It's this subtle getting people used to working and interacting with machines. You phone up anything, you get a pre-recorded voice saying press one for this. You see the subtle tiptoe tactics, and it's like here's a mobile phone. It opens up a whole new world for you. But there's a dagger in the other hand saying, but the real reason for this is not for your benefit at all. This world of duality. But there are, like with the internet and things, like now, how would this have happened without it? So it's not all bad, but it's being aware of the sinister intentions.
well, I suppose what they had to do was they had to reintroduce the mobile. I mean, a mobile again. You said like all technology is bad. Like without like right now, I'm talking to you on my phone, but
Yeah.
they've got just looking at our phones.
Well, we've got cameras on the phones. They're probably watching all the time. I mean, what's the point of me hiding? I mean, I've been on so many videos. They see my face from both sides and straight on. They could make a CGI of me ever so easily from that. There's enough
I've
material
seen
from.
your face, James. I've
Yeah,
seen your face.
yeah. So what I see no point in hiding. It's like, well, I'm here. If I'm that much of a threat to the system, well, I'm here.
Well, that's the same thing. Why do they penalise us like that? What real threat are we? Yeah, maybe people will hear different things from our mouths, but you know, why is there so much pressure on us? When why is there so much pressure on us?
How do you feel when you get a notification from YouTube saying we've taken down one of your videos?
Well, I'd be like wide awake. I find it, even though I push things probably a little bit sometimes, I'd be really upset because
Ah, right.
I'm not really
So
doing
that's
anything
not,
wrong. And what it is, I told you, without you could put 25 videos out and then they're just going to pick one. So you can't plan it or anything.
so
It's
what
just
they've done then, they've
target.
planted a seed in you, and this seed won't grow into a plant. It's a thing called upset. It's trying to plant in you.
Yeah, but I had that with the fuel. I knew what they were doing with the fuel. I didn't like it and it upset me because it stopped me doing things. I had to be somewhere and I couldn't go because I didn't have any
Yeah.
petrol. And that really, really annoyed me. And I knew what they were doing. And in fact, it made it worse because I knew what they were doing. You have to have a stress. I felt stressed. So it's a
They're
bit
well.
weird, really.
I should imagine the fact that they take videos down with certain things they don't want said tells
You
me
know what?
that
I
they,
hate it. You say something, and if they deem it, it's medical misinformation, and you think, well, I didn't say anything about really medical. They could just do what they like, James.
yeah, but because it's like, oh, we've got one here who can see through some of our things, so we need to inject some sort of negative emotion in them. So we take down one of their videos just to piss them off, and so they feel angry or upset. Because then now they've generated in you a negative feeling, which is what they want to do. That's why they do it. Because they're working it, they know all about this energy. I mean, all these rituals and things. Um, how do we discuss this in a polite way? The human spine, the bottom five vertebrae are fused. Yeah, they're fixed. Now, spiritual awakening is all about raising an energy up the spine. So if you externalize that into something negative, now you know why all these rituals with children take place. Because they're implanting a different type of seed and something that is very unnatural. And it's obviously all the feelings and emotions and things, the psychological effects that all has. It's a very dark subject to talk about, but I'm trying to skirt around it to give an idea without trying to put unpleasant visions in people's minds. So if you can keep that in mind, just sort of see what they're showing and what it's all about and what they're creating from that.
Mm.
And if it, I mean, all these things, how did it get leaked out on the internet in the first place? If they're in control of all the internet, why was these things conveniently leaked out? What are they trying to get us to
You know
feel?
what? It's almost as if it's got to be like an AI thing because the stories, the spins, the lies, the deceit, it's so deep and it's 24 hours a day. I just don't know how they manage to do it because they've got to make all the cartoons for you to watch. And as the television is a cartoon, and look at all those programs every day which they're having to make, and they're having to add and add and add. I don't know how they do it. I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
How long would you say it takes from, in terms of hours, how long, providing they're not fluffing the lines, how long would you say it takes a main star in a film in terms of hours of actual acting?
Zero. What it is they come in, they take 10 minutes footage of you, and that's your career, mate.
So what do these people do the rest of the time when they're saying they've spent 2 years making a film? What are they really doing then?
Lying.
Yeah, but that means they've got time free to make all these other scripts and things continuously. They seem to be following repeat patterns with everything. Nothing original. It's just shift it to a new setting, a new era. But we'll play it out again. We'll call it the plague. We'll call it Spanish flu, whatever. Um, But we'll just rehash it a bit, and we'll give you the same script back again, but we'll tell you it's something else. I mean, medieval times and things, it's ghosts. It's all God doing it. No, it's all the devil doing it. They've got the devil inside them. They've possessed them, burn them at the stake because they've got
But
this.
it is. What gets me is like, imagine all those horrible programs they've made saying what Russia did to its people, basically by taking things away and introducing communism, and then it's like a subversion where it's just the system they use to do it all. When
Yeah,
actually it's exactly the same thing they've been doing to us while pretending it's just Russia doing it to their people when they're doing it to us. We're supposed to be the free world and they've been doing it to us from the beginning.
it's certainly more a mental rather than a physical assault this time round. And it's pain.
I'm not sure if it's any worse than it has been. It's just that we're awake now, so it seems worse.
Yeah, it seems painfully slow at times as well. It's almost, well, it's like the Inquisition.
I
It's
don't
that.
know why they just don't get rid of Biden. It's coming, and they just don't do it. Just get rid of him then.
Yeah, but none of that's all part of the theatre show, isn't it? It's not a genuine thing. Show me
Well, that's
anything.
true.
Show me anything where when you get over a certain level, where those positions are not always appointed, whether it be a charity or whatever, or
Well,
their
I'm not
shareholders.
looking forward to that Camilla being. That character of Camilla is horrible. But yeah, everything, yeah. Because this is what I'm saying. You're in something, and it's and tomorrow we'll put this out on the news, and then we'll say it's this, and we'll make it emergency when actually they filmed it 6 years ago. I don't
If
know.
you
It's all bizarre.
if you sort of adopt the view that when you see Biden and Kamala or whatever and what they're wearing, like she'll wear a purple thing and she'll walk in front of him, but see it in the same way you'd watch any Hollywood film. It, again, the illusion of power
People have
falls
to
away.
realise they're watching Dallas and Dynasty and Coronation Street in EastEnders. You're just watching the
Yeah,
same thing, and it's called the news.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know how long we've been going for, James. I'm actually laid down on my bed now because I'm just like, I just wanted to be nice and relaxed. I don't do that. I never come into my bedroom, but
Yeah.
I fell asleep in there. I thought I was just going to go and lie on the bed. But I don't know how long we've been going, but you've been obviously talking about a lot today. Do you want to
Yeah.
finish off as you
Yeah.
do?
Okay. Yeah. Just really to say is just find that inner peace within yourself. Be open to all possibilities, regardless of whatever it is. Just think, well, okay, it may be wrong. It may be that all the directions except the last three streets are all check out. So it's continuously revising yourself all the time. And just basically,
It is a bit strange, though, James, to think we're only really here to have children, and then okay, you grow old, but to have children and die. It's not very exciting, is it? Like if someone was up there and saying, well, you've got 50, 60 years, but you're just going to have children and then you're going to grow old and die. It's not really, like why would we want to come here?
I think that's down here that tells you that bit. No, I don't feel it's like, well, in some ways it's like, well, death will be thanks very much. I've obviously done what I'm meant to do. I can go now. Whether I've got to come back again
Yeah,
is
I
a
had a
different
book,
thing.
James. It said, if you're still here, your mission on earth isn't over.
Mm. Well, to be honest, I think if I was put in a position, we'll have a scenario. I'm now sitting in an office across the table to somebody, and they're saying, right, what do you want to do now? Do you want to go back? And to be honest, a lot of me will say, actually, yeah, because there's a lot of people there I want to pull through here. So, yeah, send me back because I don't want to leave them behind. I don't see why they should have to suffer like that. So, yeah, maybe this is a continuous loop of this is maybe what I do. Maybe this is something I do every time. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, if I'm really honest, then yeah, I would say, yeah, send me back. Let's see if I can help somebody else out. Here's a lifeboat. Jump in. Because like I wouldn't want to leave anybody here to go through all this horror. Not if there's something better.
I know, but you know, most of the people you're saying, oh, I wouldn't want to leave anybody here to go through that horror. They don't care about you. They're just like them. They don't care about you. They only care about
Well,
themselves.
yeah, and they create their reality from that, and they put themselves through more of the same. So really, it's just a case of, well, no, I can't change their minds, but if they can see that I'm feeling totally different about things, they might start to think, maybe this what he's got something that I haven't got. That's the only thing you can do, really, I think.
The only good thing I've heard lately is that this country, that country, that country, it does seem that the people are awake after all.
Yeah, I think there's a huge collective consciousness, even during these sort of lockdowns and things. I found generally when you go out for country walks, people are happy, they're saying hello. Um, there's almost like, well, I don't like all this that's going on, but I can escape into nature. So that's a beautiful aspect without them sort of questioning what would be classed conspiracy theories. There's a light in them still that's enough there to say, let's get out in the countryside and get away from it all for the day. So there's some good bits coming out.
Yeah.
But I think this is really what it is, or I feel this is what it is. It's the spiritual evolution, and when the way we're told as well, when something evolves, there's only a certain amount will evolve into the something new, and that's actually quite a nice thought. It's like, oh, we're at the forefront.
Hey, James, the new you.
Yeah, we're changing from the sort of Neanderthal to the Cro-Magnon or whatever, and um, I mean, there's some interesting stories. I don't know how true it is about Neanderthals, but the stories are that they had ancestral memories. They didn't have the same way of like conscious thinking we have today, but they
Maybe that's because it wasn't really they didn't talk like today. Like today, we've got emotion and everything.
yeah,
Maybe if you take emotion out, you become more instinct. I can't say the word. Like animals, they're intuitive. You're more
yeah.
intuitive. Maybe that's what that was about.
I feel that's a big part of the way the human brain has
Don't forget, they've
been.
turned everything into a drama nowadays, haven't they?
Yeah, I think that's the growth of the sort of intellect has been at the expense of the spiritual connection. It's the egoic mind that's it's like a dog that's let off the lead that's just like running wild and got to chase after it. It's like you need to keep the ego on a short lead, and it's actually a good thing. It's a part of you. It's not a case of kill the ego. You'd be pretty lost without it. It's your fight or flight. It's ultimately it's a protection.
Yeah.
It's an instinct part that kicks in. So why would I want to kill it? That's something that's going to help me, but it needs to be under control. So you've got to be captain of your vessel. And it is a Star Trek. A trek is a path, and um, it is boldly going where no man has been before because the physical man cannot go there. It's all
I
in the mind
wonder
and in the
I
heart.
wonder really if, say, 200 years ago, people were thinking and talking like us, or whether we've evolved into these people today. Like were they thinking like us? Did they think like us? Did they have talk like
Um,
us?
from what I can see, they had a longer attention span. This is based on music concerts of like Beethoven. They went on for like 6 hours. He seemed to be some sort of spiritual revolutionary, but he was very careful to only put it in sounds in the symphonies rather than making political statements that would have got him killed. I mean, what put Beethoven on the map was a symphony called the Battle Symphony, which is the defeat of Napoleon. Um, So
we don't even know if any of that's true anymore, though, do we, James? I mean,
no,
we can't.
I'm only going with the
Yeah, go on,
the
man.
music history story. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
verify how true it is, but no one seemed to feel the shadow of Beethoven. He was quite a phenomenon. He had quite a ferocious temper by all accounts. Very good businessman, but he was really like the first freelance musician. He didn't have,
He's the one that started off as a kid, isn't he?
well, yeah, Mozart. His father was sort of trying to make him into the new Mozart. So I think during Beethoven's life, he was told that he'd been born in 1772 to make him appear as more of a child prodigy, but he was actually born in 1770. But all the paintings and things show that half of the city of Vienna turned out when he died. He's only 57. He didn't exactly have a long life. And I think he suffered a lot with health problems. And obviously the tinnitus, that horrible ringing. I mean, that's cruel, a musician to lose the hearing, but he had that inner sound. All his what they call the late music, and some people will say it's his greatest music, is all when he can't hear the external world. And it's like, wow.
I suppose that was like having another canvas then. If you can't hear, because you're trained a certain way, he had to train again, didn't he? Because he couldn't hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there's a piano sonata called The Farewell, and it does sound like he's portraying Napoleon stomping about with short man syndrome on the battlefield. It's quite amusing. It's this dom 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 dom, sort of pompous sort of sounding music. But he was also writing, because the Esterházys, one of these wealthy families, obviously commissioned works from Beethoven, so he was careful how he did things, because being a freelance composer and a time where you have no copyright protection, as soon as you've written that down, that's a free for all. So your income is only going to be from performing, which is going to be out because of the deafness. He
I
can't.
wonder if he was wearing wigs and things like they portray for that period of time.
No,
I really wonder whether they were wearing wigs.
he's one of the first. You see most of the picture of him. He's got this wild hair. It's like that's not the done thing to not wear wigs in polite society. I mean, Wagner as Kapellmeister, court musician. He had a powdered wig in the portrayal of the film. So sort of up to about the 1830s, there was still this archaic 18th century way of dressing and things. Going from those tricorn hats to top hats, that sort of thing. But
I was actually wondering, because obviously you're, like I said, you're the first person I started to break the videos down, and I was a bit gobsmacked. I think you
yeah.
were at the time as well. But I was wondering whether the 1700s is League of Gentlemen, and this is where they had a lot of technology, and because the 1800s, most of the Victorians seem poor, and there's
Well,
children.
looking at it from today's perspective, you've got two conflicting messages. On the one hand, you've got my grandfather was a coal miner, my father was a coal miner, and I'm going to be a coal miner. That sort of you do as the previous generation did. But then when you look at it from the other point of view, like with fashions and things, like each generation has become, the teenagers are the rebels. They break tradition, like the rockabilly era. It's breaking, and the teddy boys, they're breaking with their parents, they're rebelling. So which story is the story? They're running two at once there.
I know, but that seems the story of our life in this horrible matrix we're living in.
Yeah, it's I see it very much as like a giant computer game. I mean, is the Archangel in an arcade? Is it playing a computer game? And we think we think we're the characters, but that's a weird feeling as well. It's sort of like, oh, so I'm just a character in a story, I'm not actually real.
Well, no, but lots of people say, "Oh, we live in a simulation." So
Yeah, I think we do. It feels. I think it's a computer program called Energy Exchanged Organic Disk Operating System, which spells Exodus. It's a DOS. And the opposite of an exodus and escape is an isodus, and they've certainly sodomized everything that you look at with your physical eyes. It's all corrupted and perverse. So it is an isodus as well, another disk operating system.
Yeah. Well, shall we? I mean, I was going to go back to the computer. Shall we end today? It's only a pause, James. We never
Okay.
finish. We only have a pause. We'll be back.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Like I say, I've
Yeah.
got all the time in the world.
Oh, it says. Do you want to know what the numbers are? 132.30. It was 33 when I came in.
Wow.
1.5 hours, just over 1.5 hours.
Yeah, that's plenty long enough, really, isn't it?
Yeah, my phone messages are going. Thank you very much for spending your time on a hangout, James.
I enjoyed it. It's fun.
Yeah, of course it is. It's always fun with me.
Yeah. And
Anyway, James. Sorry, carry on.
if I've helped sort of lift anybody's day, or they think,
Yeah,
that's
you helped Wide Awake. He was well into it. He wanted to stay and have a hangout.
that'd have been good. There'll be other ones though, definitely.
Yeah. Well, you might be finding yourself on one with Wide Awake again.
Okay. That'd be good.
But James, well, I don't go, but thank you so much for this hangout.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Mwah to James and mwah to chat room.
Yeah. Mwah, Karen. Mwah, chat room.
Yeah, thanks, James. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And 10-10, till we do it again.